Snake bite.
Cheers. It's PAX review time.
PAX review number 3.
Mickey behaved this year.
2019.
Mickey behaved this year. He didn't buy a crap ton of games.
I think I did the exact same as I did last year.
One game?
One game. Well, I did better because the one game I bought last year, I could have bought anywhere.
That's true.
Right.
You bought Destiny.
I think
we don't
this
even get
one
to
was-
play.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Not very much, anyways. Alright, so, PAX this year for us, which seems like it's been a little bit different.
This
and
year-
I can never read Jeb. He just walks around and looks like, okay, Mickey, whatever. And
It's because when I go to anime conventions...
that's what he does.
Well, I do that, but I also have a drink with me. that's...
So he's having withdrawal at this convention because he
Right.
can't drink. Okay.
Right.
Like, that would be fun to sit down and play with a guy that's like, oh, on the table.
Well, you'd win.
Well, that might be a plus, because evidently I can't win anything else. So anyways, we did all 3 days again.
I don't remember if last year we went Thursday night and then got there early on Friday.
It doesn't matter, because this year we didn't go early any day. We
yeah.
were lazy people.
Yeah.
We really were. We would just really, this year just felt really casual.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great time again. I think he had a good time.
I did. Yep.
And even if he doesn't at the convention, he loves to eat in Philly, so it doesn't really matter. So,
no, the only complaint that I have with this convention is the security line thing. Like, that's my biggest beef.
It's not awful, but it just feels like a hassle.
Well,
like
it
it does
is.
anywhere.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I didn't realize places had that big of a security issue.
I think that the reason that the security line there is such a pain is because they force us to go in one entry. And it's not that security doesn't move relatively fast. It's that whole one entry thing.
Yeah.
So you're so irritated because you have to walk. I mean, most of the time, unless you know Philly inside and out, you're going to park, and then you have... And if you didn't scope out where it's going to be, you're probably going to have to walk a little bit. It's always in the winter, so could be a little chilly. So then you're walking, and then you're irritated that you got this giant convention center and you're allowed to go in one door.
And here's the thing. You go in the one door, you walk around, do all the game stuff, you get hungry, and you're like, I don't want to pay convention center food prices, so let's
Nor do I want to eat convention center food.
Right, so let's go out somewhere outside the convention. Oh, guess what you have to do once you
Go back
walk
to that
out?
same freaking door and
Yep.
back through security again.
And it's not like a small building where the entrance is close to all the exits. It's
Right.
a convention center.
Right.
So
And we understand that security
Yeah.
is kind of necessary today. As irritating as it is, at least in my mind, sometimes I just feel like I'll take my chances, which is a bad attitude. But I feel like everybody probably feels like that at times when you're waiting. And like I said, it wasn't awful, but I am on the same page with Jeb. It is like, you have one... pay the extra money, have one at one end and one at the other, so at least there's a couple options. So anyways, other than that, it was to me, it was like, it was, I felt that we were like really kind of like laid back this year more than normal. I think we spent, like I said, we weren't there as soon as they opened every day.
and that's one way to avoid the line at
Right.
security.
We literally, the wandering around was literally, let's look at everything day one. Let's try to remember what we want to go back and see if we need to see anything.
Yeah, if we could get a seat at something we liked immediately, we would do that. That's how we did Kapow, because we were walking by and we were like, oh, let's do that. So.
Yep, and I'm going to add to that, that's what we did. We did exactly that on day one and played some stuff. And then while we were walking around, we noted some stuff that we wanted to play in our head. And towards the end of the day, even though we were getting hungry, we kind of like sat there and discussed a little bit. And we were like, well, you know what? Let's walk by these couple of things that we want to play, because we're never going to get to sit down on Saturday if we don't do that.
Yeah.
On Friday. Best decision of the weekend right there, because we literally went back, played every single game that we had on our I really want to play list, except for one, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
And so it was good. And
that
actually
made Saturday so laid back.
Yep, Saturday was we ended up just each night playing games, and then, like I said, we were really lazy people this year. We got up on Sunday and said, let's just go home.
Yeah.
When neither of us felt like going back into the city for basically a half a day.
It wouldn't even have been a half a day. It probably would have been maybe like 4 or 5 hours.
Well, it does go to 5, but everybody would have been cleaning up, so you're probably right. If we wanted to just go and game, we probably would have got closer to 5 hours. We could have been in there by noon and played till they, told us to go away. I don't know. We were content at that point. We thought about going in and just eating because the food there is good, and then we were like, we just packed up, came back home and hung out a little bit, and I don't know, watched a movie or something. I forget what we did. Doesn't really matter. But that was our quick overview.
Well, I know everybody wants to know, did I eat my century egg? And yes, I did.
Gosh. Can't remember if we talked about that before. If you don't know what the century
I think you did in
probably
the first year or something
it's
like that.
Chinese, Japanese, whatever, rotten egg that they put in stuff. And that's what he eats.
A fermented egg.
It's black.
It's so good.
And I will admit that he made me taste it one time. Well, it didn't make me, but I was like, okay, I'll taste it. It's really not that bad. At least not in the kanji. So, I don't know. Maybe it tastes bad by itself, but he puts it in kanji and it's like not that bad.
Are we just talking about straight games, or should we talk about the guy we met at the Chinese restaurant?
No, because you're a moron. guys.
So
this
Mickey
Chinese guy sits... Well, okay, go ahead. Set it up. I don't have no words for you.
We got our orders, and we both ordered a thing of the roast pork. So we were eating it, and this guy sits down next to us, and he keeps looking over at us while we're eating the pork, and then he ordered something that I was like, oh, he ordered the duck, and then at some point the guy goes, oh, do you like the roast pork? Because we were both eating, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, I really like the duck, and I pointed to his appetizer thing. And he said something.
And started the conversation. He has this mostly right, but he actually started the conversation telling Jeb that the spare ribs are good too. Oh. That's when Jeb goes back and points at his thing and goes, yeah, I like the duck. Dude's talking about spare ribs.
And then he
does it like 3 times, and Jeb nods about the duck. Yes, he had an accent, but I'm telling you, if I can understand that he's saying spare ribs, and this moron's talking about how, oh, I've had the duck before.
I worded it so that the last one wasn't like making it think that I was looking at his and thinking it was duck. I was like, oh yeah, the first time I had the duck, I was really slick about it too.
Anyways.
Mickey's like, this guy thought I was a moron.
Anyways.
But it was hilarious.
It was pretty hilarious, because I'm sure the guy was thinking whatever, but that he had spare ribs.
Yes.
And we had roast pork. And all the guy was saying was spare ribs are really good too.
Yep. It's like, I don't care about duck.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, that's our food outing, and we had steak and cheese. I guess you guys would probably like to know about some gaming we did though, right? Not the adventures of Mickey and Jeb. It's like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Well, maybe they want to know the other random things that happened. Who knows? Maybe they'll go to PAX and be like, let's go to the Chinese restaurant.
Hey, somebody recognized us.
Yes.
We had a fan. Well, I don't know if they're a fan. They didn't say fan. They said subscriber. So maybe they don't like us.
Well, according to Mickey...
What's his name?
According to Mickey...
What's his name?
Keith?
It was Chris.
I couldn't remember.
He's the guy we taught.
That's what I thought. I was like, I remember Keith, but I couldn't remember.
Chris, if you're watching this, dude, I'm the only one that remembered your name. You know I'm better.
Chris, I'm sorry.
This is why I pick on him. You told me I shouldn't. This is exactly why I do it.
Yep.
Okay?
we were waiting in line for a demo, and Chris comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Jeb," and I looked up and I was like, "I don't know this guy." And he goes, "I subscribed to you." I was like, "What?" Like, we've never had anybody recognize us, and we joked about it the last couple cons because we see like Tom and the Undead Viking.
Yeah, we would say, yeah, Tom's scoping us up.
Yeah.
He knows us. We're a competition, not.
Right.
And the Undead Viking guy was there one time.
We think he looked at us.
Yeah, we think he was sizing us up too, because he's like, those guys are really up and coming.
Yep.
Not.
Nope.
Yes, we are. We're good. People like us. We're fun.
Yep.
We're fun. We teach.
But yeah, Chris talked to us, and I think he said he was from New York or New York City, something like that. And
Now that I don't remember where he said he was from.
yeah, because that was when he was talking to me and not you.
Yeah, but he was looking for me. He wanted the superstar.
Yeah,
he wanted the hero, not the sidekick.
I shouldn't have told Mickey it too, because when he came up, we were talking, and he was like, "Is Mickey here too?" I was like, "Yeah, there he is." I was like, "You should go talk to him."
All right.
But that was pretty cool, and give a shout out to Chris for that.
Yeah,
that made our day.
It did. It was awesome. It's probably why we got so casual. We were like, we've made it now. We don't even need to come anymore.
Right.
Then people are going to be beating down our door. Oh, yeah. We have no prospects.
Yeah, no.
All right, so anyways, okay, so we go in and we start the wandering around, and really, really quick, we end up over by where White Wizard is, and they have a demo going on of Boom. This game here called Kapow. So, guess what happened? I bought it.
We sat down and played the demo, and right away, it was just like a normal Mickey and Jeb versus game where we were ragging on each other, and it was like, I'm sure the guy teaching us was getting a kick out of it, too.
Yeah, actually, the guy, I wish I remember his name, too. I give him a shout-out. He was an excellent teacher.
He was, yeah.
He was very, very good. I think he might have been one of the designers, too. It kind of sounded like it while he was talking, but I couldn't tell you what it was. So, anyway, story behind it was that this got picked up by White Wizard for distribution. That's why they were there. The guy told us that I guess this was the leftover stock from the Kickstarter. So I bought a copy of it. It is a dice chucking, dice building versus one versus one superhero / villain game. Yep. And I say / villain because you literally can. Doesn't matter which characters you fight against each other. The only difference would be somebody, if you were hero against hero, somebody'd have to track their hit points on the villain side of the tracker. That would be the only difference. Right. So, other than that, as an aside, because we're doing this a little backwards, we've actually had time to record this. Jeb will...
This is going up before this.
Yeah, but my point is he's in the editing process because we've already been able to record it. That's how... That's how kind of easy it is. It's just a simple, fun
We sat
game.
down and played it 3 times that day.
We did.
So we both enjoyed it.
Right. So keep on the lookout for Kapow, and we'll give you the full review and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you know my review is going to be positive if I bought it at PAX.
The only thing I wanted to say was I hope it's not like Hero Realms where it takes so long to get, like, because their campaign thing took a while for it to come out. But I feel like this game is not as complex as Hero Realms, so it's mostly just testing the different heroes that they can come up with.
I feel like if they tried to elaborate on this and make like a campaign or a co-op version, that would take a while. I feel like if they just want to throw some new heroes and villains...
That's what I would assume they do right away, is if to get people to play this more, like throw out maybe like 4 villains, 4 heroes in a pack or something, and bide your time that way to work on the campaign in the background. So, something like that. That's how I would do it. The non-game creator distributor.
Yeah, at its simplest, it should be pretty easy to add some new heroes and villains. Maybe a little more complex if they wanted to add more dice or faces or whatever you want to say.
That one.
Because that would actually make new boards necessary and stuff like that. My initial thought is not a great idea, so it would take some thought on how to do that, because I feel like that's one of the reasons why it was an insta-buy for me, was just literally because of the simplicity.
Yep.
I mean, speaking of simplicity, I'm going to almost guarantee that's one of the reasons that White Wizards bought it, because their games are super fun, but super simple. Yep. I mean, sure, the campaign in Hero Realms gets a little... Yeah. But at the base, the card mechanics are just as straightforward as it possibly be. So, that was Kapow. So we walked around a little bit.
It's not the river, it's Deep Blue or...
something like that.
That's one that I wanted to see, but we never sat down.
It was the demo place was always full in the main place for setup. This is a Days of Wonder game, and I think Jeb's right. I think it was called Deep Blue. We both wanted to play it. It was out, and it was also in the section where they have it sectioned off in the open gaming area, but sectioned off of certain games that you can sit down and put the little signs up that say, I want to learn how to play, or looking for players, or whatever, in that section. And usually some of the, whatever they call them at PAX, the people that help you out, usually some of those are patrolling the area that kind of know a little bit about the games. They might not be experts, but they can, a lot of times they can get you going. Unfortunately, every time we walk by those, that was a pretty popular one.
Yeah.
And maybe kind of good for me too, because I usually just jump right on Days of Wonder stuff. Because
well, I mean, it being filled up like that might mean it's a good game. So.
Well, I think a lot of other people like Days of Wonder stuff too. So I don't know if they're probably interested in trying it. But 100% agree. It was loaded all the time. So we walked around. We saw another game that we saw that we did not get to try. And I wish I could, and I honestly don't remember the name of it. If you're watching this and you know what I'm talking about, stick it in the comments, because Jeb and I, it was another one we wanted to sit out, but it was one of the demos that literally just had one table, and that was it. Like, the guy, and then if they sat down, if you didn't get people that, would just learn the game and then leave, then you're just not going to do that. It's one of our pet peeves about being at a gaming convention. If you're at a small publisher and they only have one copy of the game to demo, don't sit down and play the whole freaking game. Right. Get the mechanics down and leave. You can read the rule book or buy the game when it comes out. Let other people learn the game.
And I understand that the teachers or demoers don't want to be kind of forceful on people, but right. I think you should word it. It's like, there's a lot of people waiting to try this. Could we wrap it up real quick?
Yeah.
Something like that, because last year we stood behind these people who were insisting on playing the entire game, and we were like, come on. We picked it up in 5 minutes.
Yeah, we just sat down and we literally, from watching, had most of it. We just had a few things we needed to clarify. Anyways, so the game was like a pirate ship type of game. And you had these squares, and the middle of the square was cut out. So it was like a die cut thing.
Imagine a tic-tac-toe thing, where it was a square with 3 squares within it. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the squares would be empty, or they'd have a little piece that had a number or a symbol on it. Right. And it all varied. It wasn't each
so
one
all
was
the squares are the same size, but the die cuts are all different in the middle of this. Okay, so it looks kind of and it's wood. So it's the ship's hull or something was the premise, and it was kind of like a gambling, well, not gambling, but a bid type of game. So these would all stack in the middle, and you could see down through to certain elements on it. So I think there was a treasure and there was rats.
Yep.
And I think there was some kind of
number on it, or maybe not.
And there might have been some kind of like attack mechanic, like guns or something like that. Anyways, the point of it, it looked really cool because what you were trying to do is you were bidding on what layer you wanted, and not all the information is revealed just because you can look down into it. You might be able to see something and be like, oh, I really need that. However, you might not have known that there's another rat on there. Rats are bad. That's why I'm using rats as an example. And then, you know, when I guess basically when the bidding's over, then you get your thing, and then you have to pile it on yours, and the scoring works on what you can see on your own, and same for your opponent. And then we didn't get any more than basically that gist, so we don't know anything about endgame or anything like that, unless you picked up some more.
I think that middle section, they bid on the top one, and whoever wins the bid gets it, and then they bid on the next one. No? I thought it was one piece at a time.
Specifically asked that question. No, you can go down further. That's why it was important to see.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the top one, and then as it gets revealed, you're like,
the guy was like, no, you can bid on different layers.
Oh, okay.
And now, how deep can you go all the way to the bottom? I don't know. I don't even know how high the stack was, but Jeb can attest. There was a ton that come in the box.
Yeah. Like, we asked, we were like, are those part of the base game? And he's like, yeah, this is all...
Yeah, because we thought it was like another
setup.
Yeah, that just wasn't set up. But that's what we were actually hoping for, but it wasn't. It was there's two guys and just tons of these things. Have no idea if the game's good. It just sounded really, really interesting and looked really interesting when we got the brief overview from the two guys that were to play it. We wish we could have played, and I wish we could remember the name too. We did a horrible job about
if it's Pirate's Bounty, I win.
Whatever.
I don't think it is.
I think we didn't pay as much attention because I think we really had intentions of trying to get back there, and it just didn't happen. And probably once Saturday hit too, it was like, I'm not even bothering, because if you've been to a gaming convention on Saturday, Friday is at PAX Unplugged, is go learn your stuff on Saturday. All right, so after that, we wandered around a little bit more, and I think the next thing that caught my eye was a
Before that, I think we... What, Transformers?
Mm-mm.
Okay, what I was going to say was, I think after we saw that, we hit the Transformers booth, and we were like, oh, let's learn it, because we both know that Transformers kind of has a following, and it's still going on. We're like, we kind of wanted to know why people are still playing it, so we go over, and we're like, oh, let's learn it. There's 4 tables. The left side is dedicated to Magic, the right side is dedicated to Transformers. The first table on the right side has 2 guys playing Transformers. The next table has 2 people playing Magic. So only one person was teaching Transformers, and then they didn't really say anything to us. Like, if one of the guys was an actual teacher, he should have been like, hey, do you guys want to learn it?
We had a decent amount of that this weekend. It drives me crazy. That's another pet peeve. I mean, I think that the people at that booth were... I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not. If people from that booth are watching it, I feel like it was a little bit of the Magic snob type of thing going out there. And not every Magic player is a Magic snob. Don't get me wrong, but there is a definite clique in that. I mean, people that are really into it, that's all they do. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, and it's fine because it's an awesome game. I just don't have enough time to invest in it to ever be any good, so I don't. That's pretty much my gist on it. So I do get a little bit heated when it takes precedence over other things that I would like to learn. As Jeb just said, they literally had both things set up, and it was supposed to be a demo spot, and there's one section there. Nobody asked us what we were looking for. Nobody asked us if we wanted to learn how to play, and it was just, middle table just had a gigantic pile of the free learn to play decks for Magic. Maybe Transformers was a side thing, no clue.
Yeah,
but again, it's still hanging around, and we just figured it was a gimmick, and we both wanted to try it because we both like Transformers, and I don't know if we would have gotten into the game, but we did want to try it, and so that was kind of unfortunate.
And I think also after that, we walked by Dice Throne, which is one that we both backed for the
oh yeah, we got to
for
see
the campaign. They had one copy of it out, so.
and we stared at it and went, can't wait till it comes in.
Right.
So that was.
I think Fuji Koro. That game is one that I backed, and they had a booth there. But every time we walked by, it was full of people learning it. So I was like, well, I don't need to learn it. I'm getting it. So that's the one where it started in the middle, and you were like, you think it'd be where the temples were.
And that was weird.
Yeah, so.
Or it looked weird, but the game looked cool.
Oh, the components looked beautiful,
yes,
so I was like, oh, I'm glad I got that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you on your next thing.
No, that's fine. It was triggering some of the other things that we walked by. I think another one that we walked by before, earlier was, and maybe it's later because some of the things are getting swirled around in my head now, is the expansion to, well, not that one.
Okay.
It was the follow-up to Takedo. Did I say that right?
Ooh, Tokaido?
Tokaido, Japanese man here.
Namiji, right? I think that's
I didn't get the name. Another one that both of us would have sat down and played, and full all the time. Both they had a section over in the open gaming area to learn how to play, and they had a presence in the regular area. And I liked the first game a lot, and I like to be, and it's a good one to be. It's a light game, and it's always fun to play, in my opinion. I wasn't super excited when I saw the main board to this, because it looked like they just did it again in the ocean.
Boats, yeah.
But then there was sideboards and stuff that people were doing things with, and it like, oh, wait a second, I think they really changed it up. So
it was one Kickstarter where I was on the fence, like I couldn't decide, and then I just went with no because I was like, it's gonna come out in retail and I can just get it then. Like it's
right. I mean, honestly, I think both of us are learning that unless it's just a deal you can't pass up. We have so many games that expansions aren't necessary. It's just it's the completest part of you when you get into this hobby that really, really hurts. Right. It's like, why would I not get the rest of it if I'm buying the base right now? And then you realize that unless you're one of those people that focuses on the same game all the time, or are really good about like, okay, for the next 3 months, this is all I'm going to play, then, you know what we're talking about. Because, I mean, I envy the people that are like, I already played through all of Gloomhaven. What?
Twice.
So if you want to talk... if you want to mention that, I think that was later, though.
Yeah.
Earlier in the journey, we also walked by, I don't remember whose booth it is, but it seemed like a place that had some smaller games and stuff like this. I see this little card game. It's got dragons on the box. It had Mickey type of artwork on it, so I stopped and I was like, what's that? And then the lady tells me, and then, oh, guess what happened? Here it is.
Just on a side note, the booth itself reminded me of Dragoon's booth from the year before. Like, it gave me that feel, but I don't know if it's the same people.
Well, it didn't have the audience that Dragoon had.
Okay.
Don't you remember? Like, that place was packed.
You're right. But I guess just the way they had set it up reminded me of it. So I think that's where my correlation
I don't disagree. They had a couple games that they were demoing and things like that. This was on the table. It's very like a whimsical type of thing. It's up my aisle. So I asked. I was like, what is it? And I got a smart ass, answer from it wasn't said smart assly, but it really was. It's like, it's about dragon racing because it's called Dragon Racer. I'm like, hello.
He's like, now I know what Jeb's world feels like.
So anyways, she was really awesome. She didn't, like, very attentive to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wasn't, sometimes at these things you get people that are like, here's what it is, see you buy.
Yep.
Because a lot of times a lot of times these people are basically volunteers. They get a ticket, they have to work so many hours.
And then they get told how to play the game an hour before, the show, and it's you're not going to.
And sometimes you get good ones, and sometimes you get people that want to. The person that was showing us the game admitted she didn't really. I think she only played it once. She wasn't an expert at it. She showed me everything. And then I was like, well, do you have a demo of it? And they didn't have one going. And she literally chased somebody down and was like, here, show these guys how to play. It was awesome. She did a great job. But here was the winning part. I was like, hey, that's a pretty fun little game. How much is it?
Oh, yeah. Looking at that, I would have guessed 25 to 30
bucks.
Yeah.
$10. It was $10.
And they said that this was the only printing
They said they weren't going to print this. And actually, after playing it, I don't know if he agrees. I don't know why. I mean, there's a bazillion games out. I mean, I guess I kind of know why. But there's no reason why it shouldn't be on a shelf in a game store.
Yeah, I don't know if the $10 thing is they're just trying to get rid of it, or if $10 was a price point for that. I do not understand why they're not making more of it.
It has high quality components. It's a card drafting game. So you have a team of 3 dragons, and then each round you have more and more cards that you draft to try to race around a track. And what's interesting about the track is that it's different every time.
Yep.
And there's always 2 pieces of the track that come out of the game secretly, so you get a different track. And the reason that the secret part is important is because some of the scoring is based on what type of track is showing at all times.
Yeah, each track has a name that's associated to it.
And that helps you score. Some unique mechanics that I haven't. I mean, card drafting. Yeah, we've all done that, and it's literally what you would think of card drafting. I pick a card, I keep one, I pass to Jeb. Jeb has a hand, he keeps one, and then passes his hand. Next round, you go in the opposite direction. You have more cards. You do the same thing and repeat. Again, the components were really good, and then when they were $10, I'm like, there wasn't a whole lot on the table either. So unless they had stock for Saturday, they probably would have sold out.
When they said $10, I was like, Mickey's getting this. If he doesn't get it, that would have just blew my mind. Because I know you enjoyed it when they were showing it to us. So I was like, $10, that's easy buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Genius over here was having a hell of a time trying to understand the game, though, when I was teaching it to him.
Oh, when we were playing it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, why are you not getting this?
It was just not clicking. And he kicked my butt in it, too.
And we did make a few mistakes when we played. I don't know when we'll get to recording it, but it would be another quick one to record. And maybe they'll change their mind and print it. But if you can, it was a Kickstarter too. If you can get a,
I should look that up to see.
Yeah, if you can get your hands on a copy, or if you know somebody that backed it, I would say play it, because it's a fun little game. And then the whole drafting mechanic in it, because a quick overview is you have a team of 3 dragons in front of you at all times. Those can change. Mm-hmm. And they have all the dragons are a specific type, and you have to, with all the cards you draft, you have to power the dragons up to move them around the board.
To gain movement points.
You also have a specific rider for your team of dragons, or master, or whatever you want to call them. They all have a different ability. So you have an ability in the game too. So not only when you're drafting are you trying to get cards for your own dragons, but you have to make the decision, do I want to give this back because I know he's trying to power up that dragon?
Right.
So there's a screw you over element, and make sure I get my dragons going too.
And on top of that screw you over element, there's the end of the round where you look to see for every track that's showing in play, you go through it from the start line all the way around to what's revealed. You go through one by one and you're like, who has the most cards with the name of this track?
Yep.
Whoever has the most gets a bonus movement. So even if Mickey held those cards to screw my movement over, if I somehow was able to get a good combination of cards to win those bonus movements, I could actually make up movement for what he screwed me out of.
Yep.
So.
And although you don't get to see it in a 2-player game, as you start adding cards, because you add cards as you go each round, more cards come into the game based on what you flip over on the track. There are attack cards, so in order to keep the race tight through the whole game, there are attack cards that are added, and the first person, they're useless to.
That's what I was going to say. I thought that was the game where they said first player can't attack anybody. It's everybody behind first player.
So it's basically a catch-up mechanism in the game, which I thought was really good, because you got to, as fun as it is to blow somebody away in a game, you have to admit that when a game is tight, the victory feels better. Yeah. It really does. So anyways, Dragon Racer, it was a, you know what, I after playing it, I probably would have spent a little bit more, but I mean, like Jeb said, when they said $10, I don't know if, I wonder what it went for on the Kickstarter. I hope I'm not pissing anybody off, and I hope you guys got a lot of bonuses or something, and they weren't just trying to clear stock. But be happy, because it's a solid game. I mean, if
I've got worse Kickstarters.
We can try to. I can't, because my phone's dead. I was like, I'll look it up for you right now. Let's see. So what else did we see before? I think
about that time is when we saw that massive monster.
Okay, so somewhere in our wandering around, because it's been a couple weeks and we can't remember the order of what we saw stuff, but pretty much all over the convention you saw us. Well, not all over, but enough that you saw or walked by the Frosthaven. Okay, the follow up to Gloomhaven.
I didn't even know anything about it. When I saw that, I was like, oh.
So Isaac Childress was there too. I hope I said his name right. The designer of Gloomhaven, and he actually did a panel. I actually watched a little bit of it on YouTube after the fact. Jeb and I didn't get to any panels. There was one I wanted to go to, but again, we were lazy and didn't get there on time. No, that was because of traffic. That was the first day. That was traffic. That was not because we were lazy. We actually did get up early and leave. I can blame it on my son, because I had to bring him to the airport at 3 in the morning, so I was tired and slept a little longer than I probably
should have. And I had to wake up at...
To what? To let the dogs out?
No, just wake up early.
Yeah, just to be a moron. So anyways, we walked by, it was always full, people checking out Frosthaven. We don't know a ton about it. Like I said, I listened to the lecture a little bit. What we can tell you is that the core components and how the game operates and stuff, at least from what we could see, pretty much looks exactly like it. New land. From the YouTube that I watched, basically you are north of the map that you have in here, kind of unexplored territory, new monsters, new starting 6, new storyline, etc., etc. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I can't remember some of the tweaks that they said they made. But I don't think either of us will be running out to get it, because we're probably a third through the first one, and who knows if we'll ever get there. Just, it goes back to the comment we made earlier about wanting to try different things, and we've by far played Gloomhaven way more than we've played any other game, and us saying that we're not getting Frosthaven is not a dislike of Gloomhaven, because we the three of us that play it really, really like it. There's a couple things that I heard people, say that they wished that I agree with, and I can't remember if Frosthaven kind of addresses some of these, like, and maybe just because we don't play it back to back, but there's a lot of times in Gloomhaven that it feels disconnected, like, and you don't remember what the heck you're doing in the story. Things like that. Like, Jeb and I were discussing this. When we started out, there was clearly this lady that we didn't know if they were good and bad, and then there was like,
there was a turning point where we had to decide,
and then some of the things that branched out, it was like, why are we going here again?
And at some point we found like some sorceress lady or whatever, and she kind of pops in and out, random scenarios, and like I just don't see like normally you kind of have like a main storyline, and it's not really pointed out well, at least for me.
Well, I mean, I feel like it was more at the beginning, and then you want to do side quests, and then everybody's got their own personal thing, and then when you reveal a new spot, a lot of times by the name you can tell if it might be something that you need. So, as a personal thing, you're going to want to go there, and then I feel like that's a little bit of where the confusion comes, and so we really can't tell you that much about it because it's not something that we're really, really, really eager to try. But I will say that it looks just as good as the first from a aesthetic standpoint. And listening to the designer talk, I mean, it sounds like they tried to listen to as much feedback as they could and do some different things.
Do you know if it's like completely separate? Like there's no mixing of heroes or?
No, he specifically said you will be able to do mix stuff.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if you could or not.
So that's kind of a neat thing. If this is,
I mean, that's great for the people who like Gloomhaven and want to do all kinds of like. If there was a character that they really wanted to try in a new
that game is so massive. I don't. Wow.
Well, it's like you said, if there's people who actually will play games that they like over and over, and
we've played it over and over. It's not that we don't like it. I'm just saying
I mean, like I wouldn't.
I don't know that I'd open another box knowing the investment that I have in time that I'd have to give it, and that's not anything against the game. It's my time. It's just personal time thing. So we did see Frosthaven. For fans of Gloomhaven, if you're excited about it, I think you should be excited about it. From what I could tell and what I listened to online. What else did we wander around to that day?
Did we do the Carcassonne type game that day?
I believe we did that day too.
I forgot the name of that one.
Kind of doesn't matter when the main game that we played the second day we'll talk about, because I honestly don't think we did anything except that game on the second day, did we? I think we went back and asked questions and stuff. I don't know that we actually stopped at any of them.
I think we might have just wandered around a bit to kill time, and then ask questions, and then play the game, and then
I think we just looked at things that we hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so wandering around a bit more, we saw, and I've actually seen some posts on Facebook looking for this, we saw Sorcerer City. Sorcerer City is a tile-laying puzzle type of game. Is that a good description? Mm-hmm. Where you have basically a square piece of cardboard that has a design on it, chopped in different colors, so to speak, like a mosaic. I don't know if that's the right word. Kind of what I'm looking for.
Well, to me, it reminded me of a Carcassonne tile, because they have it where there's like some of the tiles are split, where part of it's grass, part of it's city, and then they had like triangle things.
Yeah, but unlike Carcassonne, you don't have to match.
No, I understand. I'm just saying the way that the tiles are split in Carcassonne, you can like you could build a picture of a city if you laid the tiles correctly, and that's kind of with the colors you can build color groups.
Fair enough.
And stuff like that.
But
that's my correlation.
Squares, except this time, like instead of trying to match a city, you're literally trying to match colors.
Yep.
You're trying to put colors.
I think there's 4, right? Yellow, blue, red, green.
Something like yes, I believe that's right. I think it is just those. But and the kicker is you're timed on this. And the other kicker is you're going to get more squares as the game progresses.
Yep.
So you're trying, each time, you're shuffling these and then trying to build a new thing and score points on it. So what happens is there's certain tiles that everybody starts with that have a scoring mechanism to them. Like they have a symbol on it and it says, this tile is how you score it. This might not come out until you built half your thing too. So that's one of the unique things about it.
And a lot of the scoring's based on like placement of tiles. So like if you have a straight line of colors, for like the farther you go along, the more points. Or if you have like the area, or if you have like more shields around it, stuff like that. So.
Right. And the tiles that he's talking about, you can you can buy more of the scoring tiles throughout the game too. It was like I don't know that either of us would have sat down if the guy didn't say, do you want to play? We looked at it and then we were kind of like, huh. And I mean, I feel like the picture, like the whole box and everything was like, ooh. And then I looked at the components and I was like, I don't know what that does. It does not grabbing me.
Yeah.
Sitting down to play it though, it kind of was like, oh, this kind of blew my mind. This was actually very, very good.
Well, yeah, because on top of all the things that Mickey described about the tile laying while it's timed, after that's done, there's 4 stats that everybody scores points in, and there's one that's like that kind of like goes towards who buys stuff first or who gets the special cards first, and then there's money, which is how much you can use to spend on cards or tiles. And then there's actually victory points where you could just get straight victory points if you do it that way.
And then there's one that you convert to any of those other 3 things.
Oh, the magic one, yeah.
So you have to keep that in mind while you're building this thing. So if that didn't make sense, here's what's happened. You build, you look at what you build, you score all those different colors that Jeb's talking about, and then you get to do the whole buying and stuff. So the only thing that so the only thing that doesn't change on what you just did is the victory points, so to speak. Then you reset everything and you do it again.
But now you have more tiles. Now you have an ability, stuff like that. So.
And there's like a round 1, a round 2, a round 3, or whatever. Like
for the ability thing.
Like for how it goes, and then
there's what, 6 markets or something like that. He had 6 different piles, and each market had like different things in it, and it's like
piles, it was gonna, like, the randomness of it was really good, and the marketplace that Jeb's describing are the tiles that you get to build with, and add to your pile, or whatever you want to call it.
And they had tiles that were like rainbow, where it counts as any color. They have dragons, which pissed me off, and I think Mickey too, because it screwed us over the turn after we got them. They destroyed our whole thing.
When you placed it, like, the dragon is good and bad, because I guess he does good things when he's on there, but when he comes out, he destroys whatever you place him by.
Yeah.
So he comes out, and you place him, and then he destroys the tile, and then he stays there. And I think he does good things, if I remember correctly. It doesn't really matter.
The ability I won was, when I start the next round, I get to search my deck and put a tile. And then the first tile I draw was the freaking dragon, which destroyed my high-scoring tile. And I was like, I hate this.
So anyways, I think both of us sat down, and after we were done, we didn't play the full game because, like we mentioned earlier, and this was one of those situations. It was one guy teaching that they might have had 2 tables. I can't remember, but I think it was only one. So one guy demoing this game, and we were like, we got the mechanics, thank you very much,
Yep.
and we left. Like, we learned the game, ask them about all the stuff we didn't get to, and then we leave. That's usually what we do. And that's what we did there. And I can't remember if they had it for sale or not. I think they did, but neither of us jumped on it.
They had a raffle for it, and I think that's one
I think
reason
sheerly because we just have so many games, not because it wasn't a worthy purchase. But I honestly do think we went back to the raffle, and I think both of us were kind of hoping that one of us was going to pull. They gave away numerous games, but I think we were hoping that one of us was going to win that because it was solid. So if you if you got a copy of Sorcerer City, I think it was a Kickstarter. Kudos to you because you got a good game, and so we very much enjoyed learning that. And if you come across it, sit down and play it. We think it's a pretty good tile matching Carcassonne / Tetris-y puzzle type of thing. But anyways, where did we wander next, Jeb?
I can't remember because that was kind of getting towards the end of the rows, and towards the end, I don't think there was too much. A lot of it was just kind of selling merch. And
well, you can jump into the Japanime booth.
Yeah, we did hit up the Japanime booth, and at first I was just gonna walk by and be like, "Oh, I've seen all these games, or I own half of them already." And when we were going by, there was actually one game that had like mechs and stuff, and I was like, "Anime and mechs? That's just calling me." And the name of the game, I believe it's Core Connection, right? Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Core Connection, and I don't know if it's released yet. Or they were selling it there. I don't know if it's out now or if
like in retail. Yeah, they did have. I mean, they did have it there.
I think they sold out of all the stuff they had there because the last time we were there, I didn't see any when they were doing the raffle.
Oh, okay.
But who knows? But we sat down and we did a demo of it, and the lady who was teaching it, like she knew all.
She was
stuff,
very good.
so.
We got pretty lucky with most of the people we ran into with like when we actually sat down to learn.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if we got her name, but if anybody from Japanime watches this, it was the girl at PAX, short dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
That was doing the teaching. She was excellent. She knew the rules.
She had a hat on most of the time.
Yeah, she did have a hat on. She was super friendly.
Yep.
And a friend of hers gave her a Baby Yoda, and then I made her happy. Anyways, again, another shout out to really... there's nothing worse than getting a bad teacher at these things, in my opinion, or somebody that just doesn't seem.
And we've actually been lucky at some of them because, like, I know last year what is that one game, Scorpius? Like the lady who taught that was great, and we've had some really good teachers.
But we've had some duds too. So, anyways, she was excellent, and I'm gonna not talk too much about this because this is all his arena.
Oh, I mean, you can help.
No, I'm not helping.
We sat down for a 4-player match because there were a couple of guys already there. And this game, they were calling it a deck builder that's not really a deck builder because most of the time in deck builders, you're trying to, like, build up your deck and then thin it and then try to, like, get all your points. In this one, though, everybody starts with the same deck. And they all have a pilot card that's like a mysterious figure, I think is what it is, and then like a mech, which is like a prototype.
Right.
And as you're playing the game, you can acquire cards, and then there's a face-down deck of bad guys, and you don't know what you're going to draw if you decide to make an attack on one of them. So you can either play it safe and like try to build up cards, but then killing the enemies will give you victory points to get closer. And the thing is, what's really cool about it is when you get to a certain amount of victory points, you get a pilot. So instead of your mysterious figure, you replace that with a pilot that has an ability.
If you can pay for it.
Yes.
Which we found out later.
Right. And then after a certain amount of more victory points, instead of your prototype, you can upgrade to some crazy awesome mech of your choice.
If you can pay for it.
Yes. And the way it's set up is that there's a pile of pilots and a pile of mechs, and when you get to that point, you get to choose which one. So you're not forced into a certain one.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Heart of Crown with the princesses, where once you can get one, you're like, I'll choose the one with the ability.
Yep. Yeah, first come, first serve, basically.
Yep. And then after that point, it's get to the max victory points to win the game.
Yeah, for whatever you've got it structured at.
Yep. One of the things that was different about, or I guess unique about it, is that there are 3 stats on like the pilot and your mech, and one's melee attack, one's ranged attack, and one is defense. Mm-hmm. And there are 3 dice that come with the game that I think they said the rulebook doesn't tell you that they're for keeping track of these stats.
It's almost like they did, like, hey, we should put something to track these stats in after they were done with everything. Because honestly, in this game, it would be a real pain in the butt trying to keep... Oh, yeah. It's... You have the information in front of you all the time. The dice just make it really convenient.
Yeah, so you don't have to add up every time.
Because you attach stuff to your mech.
Your attachments will boost certain stats, and you add what's on your pilot stats with the mech stats and all your upgrades. So you get higher and higher stats, and that's useful for when you actually make attacks on enemies. What you do is you flip the top card of the enemy deck, and you look at what type of attack, or first you declare if you're doing melee or ranged. You flip the card, and you see what its melee and ranged attack is. So corresponding to what you attack, they attack back.
Right.
And you're trying to beat their defense, and if they beat your defense, you have to exhaust your mech. Right. And that comes with like a negative penalty on your next turn.
Yep.
So, but the crazy part is when we were playing, I think the first couple of enemies were like these little baby virus things, and we were like, oh, this is easy. We're going to like get score victory points real quick. And then I forgot who it was, but then
it was like, oh.
they flipped the card, and like the normal stats of the monsters were like 2, 5, 1 or something like that, and then they flip one and it's like 30, 30, 30.
Yeah.
It was like, what? And it just crushed them.
Right. And we were actually, after the fact, when we were trying to analyze the game, wondering how you would even have been able to deal with that, because not during the demo, but later on, because, hey, surprise, Jeb bought it, but he forgot to bring it here. Yeah. We found out that there's an attachment limit, so you're only allowed to have 6, and so there's some difficulties in the game, because you got to make some decisions, because there's a lot of cards in this game that actually get burned, and then you kind of don't want to, you also don't want to clog your deck with a whole bunch of stuff.
Because there's not really thinning in it.
However, you are able to switch out stuff on your attachments and things, and put them like, oh, I don't want this anymore, put that in the discard, and things like that. I will also add that one thing that Jeb didn't go over, a mechanic that I really like, is the way they did resources in this game. So that's another decision you have to make. You use your hand of cards. Anything that you place face down counts as a resource. And the resources are basically in play for that entire turn. So in other words, those resources let you pay for an attachment, and they also let you pay to buy. Yep. So it's not like, say I had 3 resources, and I had an attachment that costs 3. I can put that attachment on, and I also still have the 3 resources to do my one purchase with. I thought that was a really cool way to do things. You would probably think that would be too much, but not in this game. It's still difficult to navigate.
The limit of you can only attach one thing per turn, and you can only buy one thing per turn. There's other cards that kind of get around it, but having that limit with your set thing is what makes it kind of...
Well, plus the cost of the cards, and as far as we saw, they did not put a ton of stuff in. Like, I don't know this for sure, but it didn't seem like there's a whole ton of stuff where you're going to be able to get this amazing draw, like 14 cards in a turn. You're going to have to do some deck building work in order to get some of this stuff going.
And the other thing, if you're like, well, how do we play if it's going to be a 30-30-30 popping up like randomly? In your base cards that you start with, a couple of them are look at the top of the enemy deck. So you can kind of scope out what's ahead of in the deck and be like, well, I saw a 30-30-30. I'm not fighting. So.
But also don't forget, like, I mean, if you do get knocked out on your turn, it's not like you're dead. Yeah. It's just it's like a small, like, you have to get rid of a card at the beginning of your turn and then you're refreshed.
And the monster that beat you gets put on the bottom of the deck. So it's not like it's out of the game.
So they didn't make it so you get stuck with the thing and then you're like, oh, I have no game. And I just can't do anything for 4,000 turns until I'm able to beat this thing. So that was a good aspect to it.
It had an expansion that came with it that I think they said that it added some heroes and mechs and just some cards to shuffle in. So I think there might be some other mode that came with it, but I didn't read it. But it was one of those things where, like, when you're talking about expansions that don't get played, this one, I bought it because I was like, oh, it's easy enough. You can just shuffle it in and it's good. So.
We didn't get to delve into it too much. We got to, like, the first night, and I think we started playing it when we were kind of tired, too. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started to fine-tune the rules, so we got halfway through a game, found out we were doing something wrong. To be perfectly honest, we didn't even get to see the effects of getting really good mechs, and I think Jeb mentioned it. There's the pilot also. You can get an upgrade with, and then not only once you get the upgrade, but then they have what did they call the other sides of them? It's like elevated. So under certain conditions, not only do you have an upgraded pilot and or mech, but then they go into a state of
like an empowered mode.
Yeah, like an empowered mode because, like, oh my gosh, I'm so close to dying, it's a last-ditch effort or something. So a lot of really cool mechanisms that we haven't even scratched the surface of yet. Mm-hmm. And again, when we were wondering about some of these being able to hit for some huge points, when these things start coming into play, I think that's where you're going to be able to see, okay, now I can take down, some of these 20-plus enemies that come out with. But again, sorry we don't have the box. Jeb forgot to bring it because we're actually doing this episode on the fly. We were just like, hey, why don't we just record this because we didn't do one this year and let's do one. So
keep up the tradition.
Hopefully he'll remember to put a pop-up in if he didn't say what the correct name is or a picture of it or whatever. But if for some reason he forgets, I think it's the only mech game that Japanime has, so it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
And then, while we were at that booth, we both got really sad.
Oh, yeah, that killed me.
Very, very sad.
Because
it was a very sad day.
I didn't even remember it until I saw it on the shelf, because they were selling the copies of the game. And when I saw it, I was like, I remember when we played it, we were like, this game would be good if they started coming out with expansions. What are we talking about?
Doki Doki Volleyball. That sounded like an anime type of sound, too.
Yep.
I'm going to give you credit on that sound. It did not sound stupid. It actually, it sounded anime stupid, which it was supposed to sound like.
Right, yeah.
So did we record that?
We never recorded it.
Oh my gosh.
We played it a couple times and we wanted to record it.
What an awesome little two-player game it is. It's a card-based volleyball game, and they pulled it off to it feels like volleyball.
Yep, it's 2v2 with your play. It's not 2v2 as in two humans versus two humans. It's like I would have two players on my team.
It's beach volleyball.
Yeah.
It's like it's not indoor 6-player volleyball.
Right.
It's 2-player beach volleyball, and they pulled off the feel of it. It is really neat.
It goes back and forth like a volleyball game.
But the thing is, there's only 4 characters in the base box. So, which is like a main. Is it 2 mains, or is it a main and a? I don't remember. I know you can switch them up, although it comes with a recommendation on how to put them together first, because there's some synergy. And so we asked the person at the booth who the people at the booth evidently are the owners that have the relationships with this stuff in Japan, and we were like, are you guys gonna give us some new characters for this? And they were like, no, we have too many new games that people, like, when we go over there, they're just like beating at our door to be, and they're wonderful games, so we want to translate them into this. And I'm like, oh. Because really, I mean, if they came,
it just kills me.
They're not going to listen to us. But if they ever do see this video, I think you guys are, missing, $15 pops.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't expect it to be like a Tonto game where it's like dozens of cards that you got to translate.
No, but if they just did the same kind of packs with new characters, that game, the base game is $20. You literally could just keep making base games with different characters, people that already had, because you just. Yeah,
just buy them and switch them around however you want to play different teams or whatever. Yeah.
So
I just don't. I feel like it's not a huge game where you got to do all the translation and investment and everything. I feel like it's something that you would think would be kind of quick and easy to do, but who knows?
But anyways, so it sounds like a negative on expansions for the volleyball game.
But she did say that some people have asked her about it, so
we weren't the only ones.
No, she said other people have asked. So
well, Jeb's going to Japan shortly. Maybe he'll remember to look to see if they actually have Japanese expansions for it.
Pick it up,
and then he'll be able to play it, and I won't. Well, I don't know.
Be like, Jeb, what does that mean?
Honestly, there's except for the main characters themselves, once you know what they do, you're pretty set, because the numbered cards are kind of the same thing. Yep. So
once you know one of them, then you should be good.
Jeb could literally tell me what it says. I could stick a sticker on it, and I'd be good to go.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that was our sad news at the Japanime move. So
I think that was about everything we demoed, right? On day one, we demoed that on day one. Dang,
yeah, that was.
We were in full force.
This was one of the ones we walked by. And Max that we wanted to play. So, all right. So the other one, and this was a Mickey wanted to demo, was I'll just pull it out now because it is right here. So this is Dungeonology. So we walked by this, and the story behind this is.
Oh, you're going to show them that too, or not?
Oh, sure.
I think that's part of it.
Yep. So we walked by this, and this was a Kickstarter that I really was interested in backing, and I just couldn't justify it when it was running. So I refrained, and I didn't buy it. And then I actually wasn't expecting to see it at PAX. I didn't realize they were going to be there, so when I walked by, I was like, "Oh, Jeb, I really want to demo that." Just looking at it and stuff, I was like, "If this is good, I'm probably gonna probably pick it up." And as you can see, I thought it was good. I get there.
That was one where they only had one table of it, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a one-table one, so we actually got super lucky. Again, this is why we were taking a break and we sat down and we were like, "What do you want to do?" We were both hungry and we were like, "Well, let's just walk by." And I said this before. Let's just walk by the stuff we were interested in demo, and if we can get in, we will, because we both know that Saturday's gonna stink for trying to get into things. And we just got lucky. We walked back by this, and
he was like, we're wrapping up.
He was literally done and setting up a new game. We sat down. Jeb and I and one other person jumped in. Same thing with the mechs. Jeb told you that we walked by there. There were two people, and they had barely started, and the girl was like, "Jump in. We're just starting," and so I think, was there anything else? I can't remember. I think we might have walked by one other thing. Might have been the pirate game, or wanted to and just didn't make it. But anyways, so long story short, Kickstarter I wanted this to do and I couldn't, so I passed on it. And when I was there, we did get to sit down in the demo, and I think it has some unique thing. It has at its heart, it's a dungeon crawler thing, but in this game, you're not a hero fighting anything.
Yep.
You are a scholar trying to gather information about the things living in the land, and it's a race to acquire this information and present a thesis, and basically presenting the thesis, and then it's victory points after that. So like somebody else can still score, but that's the heart of the game. But the game has like it has exploration. It kind of feels in terms of like there's a bad guy, and even though you're not directly fighting, it's kind of sort of feels like fighting because what you're doing is you're being stealthy, and if you're not stealthy enough, then you get whacked, so to speak.
And there's a, what is it, screw you mechanism?
Yes, I was going to get into that. And there's a big screw your opponents over mechanism, which makes sense. You guys are all vying to be the first one with the thesis, so every time it goes around when you're trying to do something, every single person has a shot at messing with whatever you're doing. Now, you have a shot at countering them too.
Yeah.
But and that can't go on forever. If I remember correctly, it's like everybody gets to play one card, and then you get a final, and then so it doesn't suck up a ton of time. But the components are awesome. They have like die-cut boards to hold in cubes, slots for your character card.
The figures look nice.
Yeah. Character cards are double-sided because one of the interesting mechanics in the game is there's at a certain level you gain a star, and what happens is as soon as the first person gains a star, everybody that has less stars than that person gets to go into an empowered mode with their character, and they get to play in that mode until they either catch up or go ahead of the person with the most stars. So another interesting component, as Jeb mentioned earlier, the quality of the components are really neat. There's a press your luck type of bag where you draw students out of, and the student mechanism is kind of funny because you're like an apprentice and these guys are like students, so you can kind of like make them do your bidding and sacrifice them, and like, you know, you go die for me. Basically that's the theme. But really sweet exploration. It's not as straightforward as some of the other ones. I like the fact is that I'll call it a dungeon, but the land can really go in all kinds of different directions, because when you flip a tile, they have various doors on them, and the only requirement is you put like basically door to door.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the requirement. So you can cockeyed stuff and everything else.
And I think you're not able to overlap stuff, so you can screw over placement of other tiles too.
Yep. So and then there's levels on it. So there's like little stair markers once you start going down under, and
the boss mechanic I thought was pretty cool, because there's a little deck that when
there's a randomizer deck.
Yep. When the boss activates, it flips the top card of that deck, and it is the player color, and it goes towards that player. But what we found out was if it encounters another player along the way,
it stops and whacks that player instead.
So.
It's, there was a lot of neat things going on in it, and I just kind of like, I really kind of like it. So this was my big splurge. This was the most expensive game. I bought. I seemed like Jeb liked it when he played and enjoyed it and stuff like
salty.
that. It certainly wasn't a must buy with him, and probably because he already owns 5,000 dungeon crawlers and doesn't need another one. But again, this kind of sucked me in because of the art. It's a little bit different gameplay, and I also, I feel like it's a medium dungeon crawler too. I don't think it's that hard. I think the hardest part of the game is understanding the cards, and once you have a grasp on that, they're pretty clear. There's a pretty limited amount of symbols, and as soon as you are acquainted with the symbols and know what they do, you're pretty golden. And then the rest of it is like you just read the card and they're kind of self-explanatory. If I remember correctly, the rule book has, a fairly decent index. I've been reading the rules. So far, I haven't read them all because I got to sit down and play. I just wanted to go through what we hadn't learned yet. But so far, I've found that I think they're pretty clear, which is nice for I don't know how many games these people have made, but anyways, it's always hit or miss when you're dealing with a company whose games you haven't played for on if they're clear or not. As a matter of fact, I think I read something in there that wasn't even explained properly to us while we were playing. Not that this guy was good too, but I don't expect everybody to remember everything all at the same time. But anyhow, this was my my big want. There would have been one other that we're going to talk about with day 2 in just a second.
But the reason I was salty about this game is because the other player who sat down with us, Mickey, was like, "You should attack him," and the guy goes, "Okay," and I'm like, "Really?"
So easy.
And he did. He went after me like Mickey goes after me. So I was like, I'm screwed. There was no chance of me winning.
For some reason, people listen to me when I tell them to attack you.
I don't know.
I'm able to convince them that if they don't, he will get them.
Do I look like the kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I did enjoy playing it, and I'd like to play it after we know how to play it all. So. And the expansion looks like it adds 4 new apprentices, or whatever they're called.
4 new scholars or whatever they're called.
The thing I was curious about, because this says it only comes with 1 boss in the base game, if they have any bosses ready or not.
I believe there's a expansion that they didn't have there that actually I got out online and it's still there, so maybe if I get a little couple extra bucks I might get it, because I'm almost positive that has another villain. But what they do with the villain that's in this box is there's a couple cards, and so it kind of switches up what the villain is like. So yes, it's the same villain, but the villain can have like a whole different persona each game that you play. So
and the villain's a drunk.
In one of them, he's got like a beer mug that he carries around. It's really good. Like the sculpts are fantastic in the game, and like I said, so are the components to it. But this was the granddaddy purchase for this year. So that's it. I did really good. I had 3 games. That's really good for me.
And I think after we looked at all the stuff on Friday, we played Kapow 3 times, and did we call it after that? I don't know.
I think we pulled out mechs, and that's when we got tired.
That's when we called it. Okay.
Yeah, because we got way into mechs, and then once you started building your
when we were playing.
Well, part of the problem was that there was once we got built up and we had, for some reason, that's when we had questions.
Yeah.
So we had already been playing the game for a while, and then you open the rulebook and you find out some things you did wrong, and then it kind of spoils. It's like, well, this isn't how I should have done my deck then. And we kind of were both like, this is going to take a while, so... Well, I think we played a few more turns, and then we were like, yeah, let's just go back to the hotel.
Yep.
So that's how we ended. That's how we ended day one. So
Day 2.
Day 2. Jeb slept. I went to eat breakfast.
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yep. And then he was sad the next day because he didn't go eat free breakfast. Not the greatest breakfast, but it was good. And so then I load up on breakfast. He doesn't go to breakfast. He goes in and he goes, do you want to eat now? Like, oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
Well, in my defense...
There is no defense.
I thought the free breakfast was already over when I woke up. And I was like, oh, Mickey...
Then why would I walk over?
I thought you were going to Czech or something.
When I didn't come back?
Then when you left, I think I just went back to sleep.
That's his own fault.
Yeah. But we did get cheesesteaks.
Yes, we did. And I shoved one of those down. Anyways.
What else? I think at some point we got pizza later on in the night. Was that
later on in the day I did pizza. That one pissed me off too.
Oh yeah, the service there.
Well, I mean, we went into
how they were.
We were like, let's go play some more games, and it was kind of like that in between. It's like I'm kind of getting hungry, but I'm not totally hungry.
Right.
So we stopped at a pizza place, and we go up to the counter, and I'm like, can I get a large pepperoni or something, whatever? She goes, no, we have a 50 pie order. Like, what? So all the ovens were used, and I'm like, okay. She says, we have slices. So I'm like, okay, I'll take 4 slices. And she charges me full price for each. I mean, it's like, you can't provide what I asked, and you can't give me, like, at least a little break on it. So I literally paid for a full pizza and got 4 slices.
Yeah,
It was kind of irritating. The pizza was good, though. I mean, at least I liked it.
Oh, just lesson learned. Don't rely
on
it.
I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't break the bank, but it was just one of those things that was irritating. That's our pizza story.
Yep. So big thing for day 2. We parked in a smart place that time, actually near the entrance.
It was cheap.
Yeah, that one we were surprised about because it was like, oh wow. The only thing is they like parked me in. Like they had so many
it's a good thing we didn't need to get out because they literally put Jeb in the middle, the middle spot of 2 other cars.
I think we checked the car at like
we went to get our
4
games
or 5, I think, and we were parked in, and we were like, well, hopefully we're not parked in when we leave, and I think we left at like 11 or something, and it was empty, so it was lucky there.
So when we got there day 2, I think we immediately went up and asked some of the questions we had about the games. I think, well, there was a Kapow question. I think Jeb had a mech question, but I don't think we got it answered because he couldn't remember what it was.
I think what we did actually was when we got there, we scoped out the bottom floor because we didn't know what was actually down there, and then we saw the game, and then they were like, it's a 45-minute wait, so we were like, okay, let's go upstairs and ask questions. So.
So when we were scoping the area that we hadn't seen yet, that's where some of the places were set up. There was the hall, I forget what they call it, something pub, I think, unpubbed, because that's all the unpublished game. So all the creators are in there with their game. We looked real quick. We've actually never stopped and learned anybody's game that they were trying to produce before, but I think the concept is really cool to have a place where those guys can go in. It's just something that that we've never personally done. Then I think who else was down there? I think
FFG had their own room,
but that was all RPG stuff. Yep. That was all their RPG stuff, and
I think there was like an old-timey game room or something like that.
Oh yeah, classic. There was classic board game down there, and then there was. I think there was one other one. But anyways, the one that we wandered into that was actually one of the bigger games that was being highlighted at PAX was called Sanctum by who?
People who did Galaxy Trucker. That's all I remember.
Shoot, who?
Czech games or Che games.
Yeah. Right. So, it was them. It didn't, like, you know, the big advertisement and stuff, it didn't really grab like either of us attention.
It was like the Diablo artwork on the Diablo box. It's like, it's just like this big flamey demon type thing.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, okay, we've seen that before, kind of thing. So there wasn't anything that really said, like, come try me or whatever, but then we walked in and they had numerous tables with it set up, and it was kind of like...
3 times, I think 12 games were going, something like that.
And then we looked at it and...
Oh, the first thing I saw was the player board, and it was the Archer player board, and I saw all the different equipment slots, and I was like, Mickey is so sold on this. Like, I know he wants to play it. And then... you have to admit, the character boards were a lot different than you usually see. First of all, they were big. Yep.
Like, it wasn't like you were trying to crowd stuff around anything, which was super nice. So you had that, and then which I don't think we totally realized at the time, but the main board consists of 2 pieces, but you're like traveling, so it's kind of like the video game. Like, you travel up, and then you get to the next one, this one slides down, and a new one comes out, and you travel up, and you get to the next one, this one slides down, another one comes out, and you do that all the way until you get to the big boss demon at the end. So so obviously we, like Jeb had mentioned, we get in there, they tell us it's going to be a 45 minutes wait. We go look at some more stuff, we didn't see anything really interesting, we got lost on our way back. Because we ended up in the RPG hall. We ended up on the other, we ended up crossing the road, and we didn't realize that we had crossed the road because evidently part of the hall, the main hall, is where you actually cross. Yeah. So it wasn't like you go through usually you go over through an overpass, you can see all the cars on your side. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, we got lost, we get back, it didn't matter because all the games that were being played were still being played, and we still had to...
It was like...
Still had to wait. I asked him if he minded, he was like, nah, I don't care. That's when we met our one and only fan, and so that was pretty cool. Anyways, we finally get to sit down and play, and personally, I thought I would have bought it. I would have bought the game. I think it was really cool. I thought it had some different elements. I like the player board. I like the fact, talk a little bit about the game. So on the player board, you, as any adventure type of game, you kind of start out basic, and then you have this sideboard where, based on the type of monsters you defeat, you have these cubes that are different colors that you move up. And the cubes are important because not only do they move up and release the stuff on your side of your player board, but they're also the economy to pay for the equipment that goes on you. So there's some inherent equipment over here, but the rest of it you have to find. So you get a few pieces that help you out that you can just get by getting these cubes off of them, but then you get the rest by defeating monsters and finding treasure during the game. So that part I just thought was really cool. And then I'll fast forward really quick, and Jeb can throw in some stuff that I probably missed. But Endgame I thought was, like, mechanically was very sound too. There's a little bit of strategy going into the end boss, because the longer you take, if you want to make sure that you're the best you can be, can hurt you, because if you're last one in, you have to deal with the most bad things. So, like,
the first one to knock on the door of the bad guy is like, I only have to deal with a couple bad things.
I only have to, so he, like, it's like, you have to deal with the bad thing, and everybody below you deals with it, right?
Yep.
And then the second bad thing that person deals with, and then everybody else has to deal with that too. So if you're last in line, you're dealing with like potentially four different things.
I think there was like 2 in the beginning, so it's like 4 or 5. I just remembered it sucked because I was the last one.
Yeah, it did suck, and at that point in time, you are locked into everything that you have, and everything that you use is based on being on dice and being able to manipulate the dice. So, for example, you have you have a weapon. It doesn't really matter what the weapon is, but it'll have a symbol of a die on it, right? And so you need that number, like, right?
I was gonna say it wrong. So when you're fighting a monster, let's say you take a monster in front of you, the monster has like 1 or 2 dice symbols,
right?
And you need to roll those numbers to be able to defeat it. And what you do is you get 1 roll at the beginning of the fight, and then your equipment and stuff can manipulate the numbers.
Let you manipulate it. I was saying that backwards.
Yeah. So
monsters have the dice. You have the manipulation of the dice.
So some of your equipment can be like, oh, if you put a mana energy into this ring, then you can increase your die result by 1 or 2, something like that. So you do your manipulation, do the dice. If you defeat the monster, you get you flipped it over and there's like equipment on the back of it. If you don't defeat it, whatever wounds you do stay on it, but then it does damage to you. And the crazy thing in this game is there's no healing. So you have 10 health to begin the game, and if you get hit by a monster, you're not recovering that health ever again. At least...
Was there no healing?
Yeah, that's what she said. There was no healing at all, which... I was like, that blew my mind, because one of the guys on it who was playing with us, I think he took 2 damage early on, and the lady who took over for him was like, yeah, I was like barely there, like.
Yeah, it was, and when the neat thing about, another thing that I thought was neat in my opinion about the dice manipulation was that everything they put on it, on your equipment or whatever, were exact numbers. So if you have say something was a +3 and you used it, it's not an option to go up 1. It is you move it 3.
Yep.
So it's not like you have a range.
They do have like +X where you can actually pick a number for that one, but like you said,
right? But most of the time,
if you're at a 5 and you need a 6,
right,
you can't use a +3 to manipulate it.
So you need kind of like to get a variety going based on, and then sometimes you're just gonna get a really awful roll. That killed me at the end. I was literally the only one that wasn't able to survive. I think. I'm not sure about you really are paying attention to yourself, so I have no idea if anybody else screwed up with their calculations or whatever.
And that's the thing, when I was watching everybody when we were waiting, I was like, oh, this is all co-op, and this is going to be awesome.
It's not.
Yeah, I sit down and they're like, this is not a co-op game. It's like, you want to do everything for yourself, and then when you get to the final boss, it has it so it splits everybody in their own battle against the boss, and then whoever makes it out, then whoever has the most life of those people who survive is the winner. Right. So I was like, what? Yeah. I was not expecting that. I thought it was a team.
So if you've played like a Diablo game, think of it like this. You know how like you're going up, like when you're in the wide open areas and right before the boss and stuff, you can run out, you can go back to town, you can find potions, you just do anything you want. You can literally do that in this game. You can have a horde of monsters up there, fight it, go back and rest, fight it, go back and rest, fight it, and you can do this all day long, basically. Until you decide to move.
Yep.
If you remember though, when you're playing these video games, how like when you walk into the boss space, you're locked. You are either winning or losing, and that's exactly what this game does to you. There's no more finding weapons. There's no more healing.
You get one rest at the gate of the boss, and once you go into the boss fight...
That's it. You don't get it. You can't do... And resting's how you get all your manipulation back. So you have to be... You have to kind of be totally fresh. Hopefully you got some bonuses. Hopefully you roll good, and whatever... You get a whole row of cards that you have to go through that are like the monster card type of things. And some of them flip over and have a bad effect too. So it's
a lot
all
of them are like, oh, you lose a heart. And it's like, oh, I only have 10 hearts.
Right, yeah. So, so really quite a neat game. I don't, other than the way they did like the board and the final boss and stuff, I don't know that there's anything like particularly stand-outish that you've never seen before. I just feel like the game just took the mechanics and used everything really well.
The stone, or like the moving the cubes up.
That was
like once you got all the cubes off of one of your skills, you automatically unlock it.
Right.
And I was like, that's pretty slick because it's not forcing you to do the first level skill to be able to get the second one. It's like, if you want, you can unlock your like bottom level
stuff.
skill if you and go for that. So
yeah, if you have like some kind of strategy, you can definitely because that's the other thing too. These cubes move based on the color of the monster.
Yep.
And there's only one wild card cube, which is white, which is only on a couple of your cards or your unlock things or however you want to say it. So you could get screwed on moving these cubes too.
Yeah, there's red, blue, and green cubes. So there's red, blue, and green monsters.
Yep.
And the way it worked out for me was I was not getting any red monsters. So all my red skills were still there at the end of the game. I was like, oh crap. So
yeah, but Jeb got a ton of bonus. There's little bonuses you can work for being the first of this or the first of that. Jeb got a ton of those, so that really helped out. Anyways, like I said, I just feel like they did a lot of, moving the cubes up and being able to lock different spaces however you wanted to, like, definitely unique. But even with that, it's not like you've never seen a game where you try to unlock stuff that you have. Right. Just slightly different things. Yeah. Even like with the... It's not like you haven't seen dice manipulation though, but you have to earn the what one was it mana?
I think the blue was like mana
essence or something like that, and then the other one was like stamina or something like that. And you use those, and the numbers corresponded to a certain color.
Yep.
So if it was blue and you didn't have any of the blue crystals or whatever, cubes, you couldn't manipulate that thing.
Yep.
So, and then of course, as your weapons got better, then there was like a purple, which could take a blue or a red.
Yep.
So there were things like that. Anyways, I thought it was really, really neat, and it comes out in February, and it probably will be something that will be added to my collection because I thought it was unique enough, and I think that it wasn't super hard to play.
Right.
I thought it was another one where we had a pretty decent teacher. Everybody seemed like most of the teachers in that room, they did a good job at training them. Even though the first lady that we sat down with said that they taught them like the night before how to play the game. Like, now, of course, at that point in time, it was day 2, so they probably had all played it multiple times day 1. Probably lucky, other than the fact you couldn't buy the game, probably better that we played it on day 2 because they really knew what they were doing by that point in time. But anyways, if you see Sanctum and somebody has it, I'd say give it a whirl. I thought it was really neat, and they certainly left it open to either add new maps, new equipment, new people,
new monsters,
new monsters,
new
whatever. Yeah, you could do a new boss. I mean, the main boss is usually Diablo, but you could put all his like minions or whatever, the mini bosses or whatever, something. Yeah, you could definitely change it up. Anyways, that was so. If you put the time frame together, day 2, we probably, looking at things we didn't see and then waiting for that, we probably wasted 4 hours.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say was it goes back to the whole, like, the way we do it is we pick up the game, and once we know the mechanics and ask our questions, we're done. And I understand they wanted to go through the whole game with people, and I was just like, with that game though, it's one of those things where you could have been like, play for maybe the first 2 maps, and then be like, fast forward everybody, and then get to the boss and do the boss fight. And I feel like that could have cut down, instead of having to sit down for like 2 hours to play a game, be like, oh, an hour, and you could have fit more people in. But that was just my opinion. I mean, I enjoyed playing the whole game, but
I enjoyed playing the whole game too, and I could easily play devil's advocate with it, because I agree with everything that Jeb said. There are some things you wouldn't have got the feel for, because if you did fast forward it, you would definitely have to be like, okay, you get all these weapons, and let's guess on what you earned here and things like that. But that's really not his point. It's like, what we normally do is get that, and then we like okay, now I get all this. I get what's going to happen when we get here, though.
Yeah, because it's a game where the boss fight it changes the
totally
way you've been
different.
playing.
Right.
So, like, if I went in and they were like, okay, here's the first 2 maps, we're done with the demo, I'd be like, oh, that wasn't that great. But then, like, if they were like, here's the first 2 maps, let's fast forward to this boss fight where you've got all these cards that you got to deal with, and it's all coming at you. It's like, okay, and now I get a good feel of the game.
And I think with a little planning, you could probably do that. You could have trained the people to be like, take them to this point, and then make sure they have this equipment equipped, and you just throw some of these on and just explain to them, this may or may not be what your character ended up with, but here's what we're going to go with.
I wouldn't I tell them, don't expect to win. Like, what I'm giving you is, I just want you to feel how the fight's going to be.
Exactly. So. And you could have definitely probably cycled some more people in, because I'll say that there was probably a lot of people that would have demoed that game that didn't, like, yeah, I'm not waiting. Probably, if we wouldn't have already been committed, I don't think I would have waited. No. But it was like, we purposely walked around to waste time to come back and do that. And then not knowing how long the game took, then we waited and waited some more. And then by the time you wait that long, you're like, well, I'm not leaving now. I just invested all this time. I'm going to play this freaking game.
I mean, I enjoyed the game. I'm not ragging on the game at all. It's just,
no, I know exactly what
I just feel like you mean. If you cut it down to an hour, then you could have cycled through a lot.
Right, and then you know, we would have had more time to do regular gaming. Which, after we played that, I think
that's about it for the con. Right after after Sanctum, we had the night of the gaming, and then
after that, we went up and we sat down and we started to. Jeb brought a game, I forget what, Japanese game.
Ronin.
Seven Ronins?
Yeah, it's Grey Fox Games is the publisher.
Yep. That he taught me, and that's pretty cool.
It's one that I wanted to show Mickey for the longest time, and it's like, it's small and it's quick, and it shouldn't...
And that's the only game I won.
Yeah.
But I did win. I won his own game. Maybe that's what I just should play. Maybe that's it.
And play all my games.
If I play Japanese games against him, except for Yeto, because he gets the only card in the game that's an instant win, and pulls it off. Maybe that's the key to my victories. But anyhow, so we played that, and then we happened to be sitting by a couple, and we got done with that, and they were playing a game that they weren't having any fun with. And
yeah, when we finished, I ended up running over to the different raffle places because we got raffle tickets, and I think you were watching them have trouble with their game or whatever. And then when I finally came back, we were like, "Well, what should we play?" And then
Keith,
right?
Keith, the husband, asked, "What do you want to play?" And do you guys want to play something? And we were like, "Sure." And so we showed them what we had.
And I had like Nemesis, and because that was one that I was hoping to get to, but we never did.
Yep.
And then I had Marvel Champions, and I forgot the other thing that I had. And then you were showing off what you had brought.
And I had Thieves' Den, which we hadn't broken into, and Champions.
You had Dungeonology with you, I believe.
Did I bring it?
You did, because it was we were talking about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we saw that."
And Dragon Racer, which Jeb and I played, I think after.
Yeah, after they left.
After they left, and then, but anyways, so they were like, and we were telling them about the games we had. We said, of all the games we had, everything would be a learning process except for Marvel Champions, because we already knew how to play that. And they were like, "Well, that sounds great. We have it, but we haven't played it yet."
Right. And we were like, "Oh."
Right. And they were Arkham, the card game fans that have played it. So we were like, "Oh, well, then they're not even going to be hard to teach because you've already got half the mechanics." So we sat down, and they seemed to have a blast, and we had a blast, and it was such a close game. I mean, we only played against Rhino, and I mean, everybody except Jeb had starter decks, so of course that made it a little harder. But anyways, literally the final round, we had to go all in and just swing, because by the time we were to the last person to knock him out, because we did win, there were 3 schemes plus the normal one. Somebody had drawn.
My side scheme came out.
Side scheme came out, and then on the encounter cards, 2 other ones came out, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
There was no way. And
I think Rhino might have had like a power up. I don't remember.
Well, no, but the main scheme had 2 +1s.
Oh yeah, yep. We had actually got that far, which we never did in our 2-player version.
Well, with 4 players, you go through a lot of cards a lot quicker. Anyways, the point, it was super fun. They were a blast to play with, and they seemed to enjoy the game. So we were glad that we were able to teach somebody that game, and they had a good time. And then, like Jeb said, then we went through Dragon Riders,
which the guy next to you sat down and was like right up in your personal space.
Oh yeah.
He was not having any of that. And
then if for some reason the guy that was talking to us about Marvel Champions when we were trying to teach, I'll say that I will apologize for my rudeness.
This guy walks up behind Mickey, and he sees that we're playing Marvel Champions, and it's at the very start of the game.
I was kind of embarrassed about this. I didn't really mean to do it. It just came out.
He's behind Mickey, and he goes, "Oh, you're playing Marvel Champions? I demoed that today. I really liked it." And Mickey's like, "Oh, that's good." And he's looking at his hand, trying to figure out what to do, because it's like getting close to his turn. And then the guy goes, "How come you have 7 cards in your hand?" And Mickey's like, "I'm Black Panther, so I start with an extra card, and Jeb made me draw a card with his ability." And the way he just snapped that answer, the kid was like, "Oh," and he just walked away. And I was dying the whole time. And he's like, "Jeb, you jerk."
He didn't tell me that he was dying until, till the end. I was like, because I brought it up, I was like, I feel really bad because I didn't... It was one of those situations where it just... So we're in the middle of teaching, comes up, and I acknowledged him the first time, and then it was like, "You're going to rule shark me right now?" I'm like, "Okay, dude."
It's just hilarious the way.
Yeah, I didn't, so I didn't really mean to be a jerk, but I was, so I apologize for being a jerk. But, you kind of should have noticed that we were in the middle of something. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Anyways, so So that was after that.
We did Dragon Racer for a match.
We did Dragon Racer, and then it was time. They started calling. Basically, they started calling time. We're gonna start wrapping. If we had something short, we probably could have got that in, but we were both like, okay, we're done. And then on the way home, we were like, gosh, I'm hungry. Let's go to Wawa and buy a ton of junk food. So we did, and then we got back to the room, and we're like wound up. Like, we're just up. Well, and I don't think it was like 1:30 or 2 before we went to bed.
The worst part is I would have never expected to walk into a Wawa near the bakery section and see two cops making out. I was like, what did I just walk into?
And then Jeb had a turkey and mashed potato sandwich.
He was giving me crap for getting the gobbler.
Why can't he order something normal? You're at Wawa. I'm sure that was a high quality turkey and mashed potato sandwich. He gets it and he goes, well, there's gravy dripping all over this thing. Like, oh my gosh. I've like got my bag 10 minutes ago because normal guy here orders a roast beef and goes and buys the chips and dips, and then he's like, I'm ready to go. And this guy, I'm waiting, and he finally fesses up to what he ordered, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
And the people were already, like, they looked pissed off, like, having this, because there were a bunch of people running in. I think there were a couple of drunk people.
Yeah, so
they were like
it was that time of the evening when all the crazies came out. So. Yeah. Right. So then we went back to our shady hotel room.
Where we got upgraded. They actually put paint on our walls.
We got paint on our walls this week. That wasn't all chipped off this time. But anyway. All right.
And I think that was about it.
Yeah, because we already told you that we didn't wander around Sunday because, like I said, we were kind of casual, lazy bums this time, and it worked. We had a good time, and
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
I was way better on my wallet than I normally am. So.
I was gonna say last year didn't we walk away with like 2 or 3 bags full of stuff?
I bought a lot in years past, so. I did pretty good.
Yep.
Which, now that I know I can do it, I need to do it more often because it's, or I need to sell some of this stuff. So, anyway. All right, so that's it for the PAX review, unless Jeb has anything else to say.
Nope, if you guys have any questions, just shoot them in the comment section.
If you remember any of the games that we were talking about, particularly that pirate one, I think it was a pirate one anyways. Let us know what it is. Oh, one other thing before we leave. We did get to see, what's the name of it? The mountains, the Tetris one with your trolls or whatever. Shoot, I forget the name.
Oh, the ones where you're digging in the mountain and you build your little...
Yep.
I forgot the name of it. But you said you ended up, at the last PAX we saw it and
I kickstarted it. It's supposed to be on its way.
I thought you kickstarted it after we saw it at the last one? Okay. I thought you had like signed up with them to get it after or whatever.
No, it was a coming to Kickstarter. And then when it came out, I jumped on it.
That one Kickstarter that I backed, I can't remember the name of it, but it was kind of like Asian themed and...
No way.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, but there was like a bad guy board, and then there were like the good guy boards, and you had to like it was a co-op type fighting. I forgot the name of it, but I got an email that said that they were there.
It's not the one that like kind of looks like yellow, right? Because you got to see that too.
No, it wasn't that one. Yeah, this one was kind of like I would say kind of like we were teamed up on Dice Throne trying to fight the monster.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. But yeah, they said that they were there, but I completely missed them if they were. So. Yeah,
a couple. Well, I mean, if they were there, we totally missed them too. We were disappointed that Rather Dashing wasn't there. If they were, then you guys downsized because we didn't catch you. And Daily Magic.
Yeah, Daily Magic wasn't there.
That was kind of, we usually look forward to seeing what they've got up their sleeve or what we haven't tried or what what more Valeria cards I can buy. Anyways, yeah.
Yep, I think that's about it for me. So.
Okay. Nope, there's your PAX rambling for this year.
Yep.
See ya.
Look forward to next year, right?
Yeah.